I crashed twice this year, once in February and once in what I call Maycember, which is when May turns into school parties and recitals and just needing to juggle every single logistical ball at once. And it's because of crashes like that that this entire system was born. You're not falling out of love with your partner. You're falling out of sync with them. That's a systems problem, and there's a 15-minute fix for that. I'm walking you through the exact 7-part meeting my husband and I run every single week, including the one question that keeps middle load from turning into resentment and the 30-second habit that most couples skip. Most couples aren't purposely bobbling their handoffs. They're also not purposely growing frustrated with each other because they're not available to pick up the sick kid or their partner's not available to go to the grocery store to grab that missing ingredient that just happens to be critical to the spread for tomorrow's game night that you're hosting for the neighborhood. You're also probably not down on each other because you're falling out of love. You're just missing a system. So if you're new here, hey y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil. Welcome to the Life Management System, the show built for working moms who are doing all the things, but still feeling behind. So here we trade burnout for boundaries and survival mode for something that actually feels like the life we dream about. Okay, so let's paint the picture. You're probably listening because you are a career driven woman and most likely a dual career couple. So you are probably feeling very saturated. And that saturation is made even worse because we, right now, living here in 2026, don't have the infrastructure and the society support to actually survive and thrive as a dual career couple. But infrastructure alone, first of all, it's a really big problem to fix. It is decades of societal norm shifting. It is legislation shifting. It is companies shifting. Like that's a behemoth to fix. There are people like me that are out there pounding the streets and sending messages to big organizations or to the federal government all the time to fix it. But let's, for sake of this conversation, put this aside. The good news is, if you and your partner feel like you are two ships passing in the night, it's probably just a system problem, and that is within your control to fix. So, inside this podcast, yes, I will often host people that play in the culture shaping space. One, it's because it's where I came from. I have spent the past couple decades in culture shaping inside organizations and led it in big companies. But it's also because that is what slowly will illuminate to leaders that, hey, this is your opportunity. However, for the most part, I like to make these episodes focused on something that you as a listener can control. And what you can control is putting in place a weekly structure to align with your partners. So, what I mean by that is most of the women that I work with, or most of the women that I engage with, are shoving logistical related conversations with their partner into every small crack and corner of their life, such as the kitchen island at night. So it's 10 p.m., you are both winding down, and you're like, oh crap, I totally forgot to tell you that I have a late meeting tomorrow and I need to make sure that you can get the kids off the bus. Like that's the kind of thing that normally happens. Or, this is actually even worse, even though it doesn't sound like it. It's all of that back and forth texting that happens throughout the day. Like, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? Did you remember this was going to happen? Oh, hey, the bug guy's coming today. Like, all of that back and forth does a couple things. One, it's disruptive to your concentration naturally, but it actually takes a lot more time than you think. Not just the hands-on, I am focused on my phone, but I don't know, just the push and pull of interruption. So I don't want you having unclear plans. Like, I don't want you having that iffiness. I want you in 15 minutes a week to know exactly what your leak is going to look like by having a family meeting. So this is not like a full-blown marriage retreat. This is not probably going to make you feel on top of the world. It's not about that. This is a logistical tool, just full stop. It is going to save you frustration. It's going to save you wasted time and probably going to save you a little bit of resentment because that's exactly what ends up happening. So let's pretend your kid has a dentist appointment that just snuck up on you throughout your week. Now you have to rearrange your schedule and figure out how you can accommodate that. That's wasted time. Or if your partner forgot to tell you that he or she is responsible for snacks for T-ball, and now like you're having to call a timeout and figure out how you're going to get to the grocery store, that's wasted time. I don't want you to have all that wasted time. Maybe you forgot that soccer practice or the soccer game this weekend is several towns over. Well, crap, I have an empty like gas tank. Now I have to figure out how to go out of my way to fill up that gas tank before I have to leave super early Saturday to hit that 8 a.m. soccer meeting. Like all of that is wasted time. So having a family meeting not only helps you align with each other, it's also going to give you exactly what you need to be able to think strategically about your own week. So I'm going to just kind of set some expectations on how I think these can be facilitated and some of those best practices. And then I'm going to actually get into some of the things that we do. So I expect that conceptually, you've probably heard about a family meeting. Like that's not new news, but bringing it to life, that's a whole other story. So most foundationally, keep them simple. Simple always wins. Don't get stuck on the things that I'm talking about here. If it feels like too much, don't do it. I have a script and a template that the women inside my program have access to that they use, which makes this a little bit easier. But obviously, digesting on a podcast is something totally different. But maybe it triggers an idea for you. But at the very end of the day, what matters is that you do it. So keep it simple. The other thing that I find really helpful is if you get in the practice of doing it at the same time every single week. So for one of my clients, as an example, we were just talking this past week about it. She and her husband were running into some friction. I was like, okay, you both work from home on Fridays. At the end of the day, before you leave to go pick up the boys from daycare, you're going to call a timeout. You're going to spend 15 minutes and we're going to do this. You're going to tackle this together. For Richard and me, that doesn't really work for a multitude of reasons. But for us, it's always Sunday right before family movie. So I save all of my administrative work for Sundays to do while we watch family movie. I mean, normally it's like something I'm not super engaged in anyway. And I'm not the type of person that can sit there and pay attention and watch a movie. It drives Richard crazy. But because that's when I do a lot of my administrative work, I need to know answers going into that family movie. So that's when we do it for us. It doesn't matter when you do it. It's more about that you do it consistently and that you do it in a way that serves you and works with your calendars. So the other thing that I think is really important when you facilitate this is that you look out 2 weeks, like not 1 week, 2 weeks. So what I mean by that is most people, if like I'm doing it on a Sunday, they'll just be like, okay, here's what we got going on the next week. That's great. That's a great first step. But what ends up happening is that the following week sneaks up on you and it's too late at that point to move the chess pieces. So as an example, my husband was the one taking my son to the orthodontist appointment and we fell out of habit because of summer craziness of sitting down and doing this because we were, traveling a lot on the weekend, so we just weren't fitting it in. And I felt the pain of that because this orthodontist appointment snuck up on us. And at that point in time, it was too late in the day or too late in the game for me to rearrange that and still fit that in. So by the time I finally tried to fit it in, now I'm trying to cram it in another week where the orthodontist is full and I'm having to push it out even further, which unfortunately is going to push out his braces. Sorry, Wyatt. So do you get what I'm saying? Like when you look 2 weeks out, it gives you enough breathing room to actually still rearrange the pieces without like falling flat on your face. So look 2 weeks out every time and make sure you do it when your calendars are like right in front of your face. So if you don't do that, and ask me how I know, if you don't do it that way, you're either going to one, carry around the mental load of having to remember like, oh, I need to make this change or I need to make that note. Like that's not fun. We already have enough of that. But worst case, which is what happens in this house every now and then, is that somebody drops a major ball. Like I will be telling Richard, like you are like you're paying attention, right? You're making this change, and then he will already be distracted by something he's looking at on his calendar. So we do not move on to the next item on the list until we have both said and acknowledged, yes, I just made that change. So it's just not worth the risk, but that's another important one. This is an operational meeting. Keep it that way. It doesn't need to feel bigger than it needs to be. Again, simple works. Okay, let's start with the components, and I'm going to run you through everything we talk about and why. The first and most important thing is always the 3 Ws. I anchor back to that in everything I teach. I anchor back to that in everything I think and everything I do myself. So the 3 Ws, what do I mean by that? What do we value? What do we prioritize? What are we spending our money, our resources on? So what do we value? Is there anything bigger or that needs to feel bigger this week for us. Something like, I want to be able to show up at my son's Christmas party. I want to be able to go out with my team at night that is visiting from out of town, like that kind of stuff. What are we prioritizing? That's the one thing that each of you need to make happen for one another based on what it is that you value. What are you spending your time and your money and your energy on? So when you name that stuff, that's when you start to create space for it because you have awareness, particularly something like money, because it can blindly leak. So it actually allows you the time and space to name it. So that underpinning those three W's, like again, it is the foundation of everything I teach, but it also helps you reframe things so it doesn't just feel like this is an exercise in logistics, but it's an exercise in aligning the type of life you're trying to create. Then you move forward and you get to the calendar walkthrough itself. So I want you going day by day and running through each and every day out loud. So review the work commitments that might bleed outside the work day, review the kids' logistics, where they need to be, when they need to be there, who's on point for what. Like, I don't want you being like, oh my gosh, we'll figure it out. No, don't figure it out later. Figure it out then. Then meal planning. That's another thing. It's so easy to think it doesn't matter, but it does. So as an example, we grill a lot because it's healthy. It's an easy way to get in protein, which I am actively working on with my nutrition coach. So we grill a lot, but I can't grill on a day that Richard is working late. He does a lot of late nights. He's in sales and banking here in Charlotte. So he does a lot of late night stuff. I can't bank on him to grill. So like even thinking through that level of detail matters for us. But if you're curious about what my week looked like when I was going in 3 days a week into the office, I actually have a way you can put your eyes on my exact schedule that I followed. You can get a copy of it, and I'll link this in the show notes as well, by the way, but at workingmomsmovement.com/schedule. So I will link that in the show notes. That will allow you to put eyes on how I manage my day by day, and it might give you some ideas and some inspiration on how I fit in a corporate executive role while building a business, while having two kids that are very active in activities and all the things. I'm also, by the way, I did record an episode 72. I recorded a little bit of an overview of that, so I'll include that to you in case that's more your style. Okay, moving on to the mental load audit. This is really important. This is what most couples skip. They think just logistics of day in, day out. What does that look like? But this is where you get relief, women. This is where we get it. So this is the part that is going to take you from like a place where everything's in your head to where now you are sharing the load and you are exposing the things that you carry. You are helping bring them along and helping illustrate what mental load actually looks like. This is also where you probably stop resenting the other person less because it gives you an opportunity to redistribute some of that load. So some of the things we talk about, like the going and pulling off that meal planning thread, we go straight into grocery additions. Like, what is it that you need? Go ahead and add it. It allows us to better massage what that plan looks like. But this is where it gets real. Like, what's living in your head that the other person doesn't know about? And honestly, you will probably be surprised by some of what he tells you too, assuming that you are in a relationship and that you are in a male relationship. Like, that is the one thing. Women and men just tend to think differently. So my husband, as an example, does a lot of our taxes. He does a lot of our finances. He does a lot of the house maintenance, like outside house maintenance. So sometimes like it's easy for me to forget how much he's carrying. Now, do I think it's equal? Absolutely not. But that is not to take away from some of the things that he owns himself. So it gives you a chance to both be heard there. It allows you to talk about the appointments that you need to plan or forms to fill out, the gifts you need to get, the emails that are to both of you that you need to answer, whether it be to the school or your parents or RSVPs. Like, it allows you to get all of that out there. So say it out loud, assign the stuff, and then agree on when it happens before you actually leave that meeting. Okay, moving on, childcare and support systems. This is things like, what do you need to tell your house manager or your virtual assistant or a nanny? What does somebody else need to know that they need to cover or they need to be aware is happening in your week? We host a lot, so that kind of thing comes up a lot for us. It's like, ooh, we need to make sure that they're helping with X, Y, and Z to get ready for hosting or to get ready for this vacation. Look at your regular childcare coverage. Do you have gaps in it? Do you have backup plans for if someone's sick or if something happens with the adults? Like, do you know what's going to happen next week, like a week out from now, when all of a sudden your spouse is traveling for work and you're stuck holding things to yourself? Like, do you know what those plans look like? Again, that's why we look 2 weeks out. Also, are there things that your childcare team needs to know, whether that be your nanny or sitter or grandparents or daycare? Like, is there something they need to know that happened over the weekend? Whether that could take the form of like, hey, by the way, teacher, we're going out of town in 2 weeks. Can you get their homework together? Or it could be like, hey, daycare, Johnny has a big goose egg because he fell this weekend, but it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, that's the kind of stuff. What does that look like? Then you move on to the energy check. And this energy check in a very vulnerable moment is a new thing for us. And it came from a very real place. So what I mean by that is that, like, gosh, y'all, I was at a place in 2 points this year, um, where I just crashed in February. So I lost an entire month of work in December because I had threw my back out and I was horizontal almost the entire month. Could not do anything, got nothing done. And then you roll right into the holidays. So coming out of that, I had multiple speaking opportunities that I was having to create new content for. I had a retreat I was hosting. There was just a lot going on. That was a crash. Like, my energy just tanked. I had nothing else left to give. The same thing happened again in December, where I pulled in a billion different directions trying to be present for my kids, most particularly my youngest, because we're sending him to a new school. I wanted to spend time with his friends, his families, support him through it. And I was just toast. So come Mother's Day, like, my husband was out of town. It's a whole thing. But I was like, I need a day. Like, my energy was toast. So it is in the spirit of those type of crashes that I've experienced that now we have introduced this. It serves as a litmus test. This is a way for me to, or him to be like, hey, on a scale of 1 to like empty to super full, where are you starting your week? Where is your energy? What on the calendar is going to drain you more than it's giving you? Or more importantly, and why this fits into this conversation specifically is like, hey, what's one non-negotiable that we each need to protect for ourselves this week? Because your calendar is a direct reflection of your system, not your intentions. Like, whatever you want to do, if it's not in your calendar, it's not real. It's just not real. Like, even my showers are on my calendar because I know otherwise. Like, I got long hair. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that you are dealing with like day 4 hair right now. This is what it looks like. I need to get my hair washing on the calendar. It's just a thing. But that's what happens. That's also a direct result of putting first things first. If you value something enough, it needs to go in the calendar. It's the same reason that we have to work out in the mornings. It doesn't happen at the end of the day. We just don't actually end up creating space to work it in. So moving on, what are your wins from the week? So if you feel like you and your partner are constantly just problem solving together and your logistical handoffs and handshakes are happening, like, that weighs you. That's boring. That feels stale. That does not keep the energy alive. But you know what does? Feeling seen and heard and appreciated. And this is something you can do in 30 seconds. You can share, hey, this is what worked really well for us last week. Maybe it's something that you did together. Maybe it's something that your partner did for you. Like, my husband, Richard, he gets up earlier. He's the one that unloads the dishwasher. And like, he kept waking me up with these plates and stuff like clattering. And I work way later than he does and get up way later. So I came out, was like, hey, do you know that you do this? Do you know that you wake me up every morning? He's been so intentional about that this past 2 weeks. So, like, that's the kind of thing I'm gonna be like, hey, I see you. Thank you for hearing me. That's made a real difference. So spend time, 30 seconds a piece, talking about your wins from last week. And then The last thing before wrap up is you name one thing that you need from the other person that week that you haven't gotten to say yet. So it could be something like, hey, I know you, like for in my family, I'm always on soccer duty and Richard's always on flag football duty because he played flag football or played football. And that's like he kind of helps coach. So, hey, let's just switch default kids. Like I need a break from soccer. I would love to be able to go watch and hang out at the track instead of hanging out in this like doom and gloom indoor soccer facility. Like, let's switch kids. Or maybe it's like, hey, can you take a night off of kids because I won't be able to get a walk in earlier in the day this work week. So that way I can do it at night or so I can catch up with a friend. Or maybe it's like, hey, I just need you to tell me I look good. Like I've been working really hard on my body, but I feel really down about it now. Can you tell me like multiple times this week how smoking I am? Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like just tell your partner that that's what you need from you. And then you bring it all home. So you need to repeat back. Here's who's covering what by day. Here are the non-negotiables, and here's what each of us asked for. And that way, there is no confusion. There's no opportunity for you to each have missed the mark. That's your informal handshake with each other. Like that's the agreement. So a family meeting is probably not going to fix all the things, but it sure helps it from going sideways. And that's what matters. Like I'm sure of that. But that's the thing with dual and like dual career families, particularly when we have kids, like it's going to go sideways. But having a plan will keep you from feeling extra suffocated when things do swing one direction or the other, because it gives you a starting point so you know exactly what you can say yes to throughout the week. You know your partner will be home. So when your colleagues come in from out of town and all of a sudden want to get an impromptu happy hour, you can be like, yes, because I know Richard's got him. And of course, you tell him, you tell your partner, but you know you can say yes to that. Like that's the beauty of a plan. It actually allows you to be more spontaneous because you know with certainty how and when things will be handled. So when you start putting this into practice, I anticipate you will start seeing a much materially lower volume of like near misses between you and your partner, or like all those back and forth texts will start to minimize. And probably honestly, like a little bit less resentment too. I know that that comes up a lot for us because I'm not surprised anymore. He's not surprised anymore. And it's going to feel like an administrative task. It is. Like it is an administrative task. But what's going to happen, I promise you, is that over time, because y'all are aligning, you're going to feel closer. You're actually going to start feeling closer because you feel like you have a real partner in it. You are sharing that mental load. Like your partner is a partner for a reason. And you actually start to work in partnership. And maybe, just maybe, you'll actually find time to schedule that date night because you actually have taken the time to run the meeting. You're firing from all cylinders now as a unit as opposed to two individuals. So I think it's a real possibility. I really do. I don't think that's over-promising. But if you feel like you have problems fitting that in, I actually would encourage you to listen to episode 91 next. I'll link it in the show notes, but that's where I talk about how you can finally fit in date nights and girlfriend time and working out time. So it's a banger for sure. Give that a listen. But think about it, like right this very minute, what's one thing that's living in your head that your partner probably doesn't know about? I guarantee there's not just one, there's like multiples, 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 multiples. So I hope that this concept gives you a little bit of a forum and a means of facilitating a way to redistribute some of that workload or that mental load that you're experiencing now. And I'd actually love to hear about how it lands in your house. Like this is something that is very effective for my family and for my clients. So I'd love to know how it goes and whether or not you're actually doing that now. You can DM me at Working Moms Movement on Instagram. Like for real, do it. I read everyone. The same with my inbox. I will link this in the show notes. Hello at workingmomsmovement.com. Like let me know how it goes. And if you're ready for end-to-end life management that is like fully sustainable, fully supports you, I'd also encourage you to book a call. Like, let's talk about it. Let's understand how this, among many other things, can be introduced to help you facilitate your life more streamlined. So I'm going to link my booking link in the show notes as well. But that's all for now. Until next time, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama. Once this meeting becomes a habit, you'll actually start finding pockets of time you didn't even know you had, which is exactly why I want you to go watch episode 91 next. That's where I get you to finally learn how you can fit in date nights, girlfriend time, and workouts once those logistics stop eating your whole week. I'll see you there.